We have breaking news in NASCAR, and that is that Chip Ganassi has sold his entire team to Trackhouse Racing, which means at the end of the 2021 season, Chip Ganassi Racing will no longer be in NASCAR. And I don't blame Chip Ganassi one bit for selling his entire team. And we're talking the charters of Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain, all the assets, the team garage, everything. And I don't blame him one bit. One, because he already has success in the IMSA series. Two, because he already has success in the IndyCar series. And don't get me wrong, Chip Ganassi Racing has had success in NASCAR. They have a couple Daytona 500 wins. But other than that, it hasn't been as much, at least not as much success as he's had in the IMSA series and in the IndyCar series. And if you're an owner in three different types of motorsports, and you're not having success or not as much success in one, but you're still having phenomenal success in the other two, in my mind, there's no reason for you to have time and money invested in a motorsport, in a type of motorsport that you're not having as much success in, when you know already you have success in the other two. Plus, I also think that NASCAR is going downhill, and I think it has been for at least 5 years now. Around the time where they brought in the stage racing, they brought in the rule changes like the crash clock, for example. I mean, people have different opinions on when they feel like the sport of NASCAR has started to go downhill. I mean, if you ask about five different NASCAR fans that feel like the sport's going down, they'll probably give you a different response. Like maybe one will say 2001 when Dale Sr. passed away. Maybe someone will say 2007 when they brought in the car tomorrow. Maybe someone will say when they started bringing in those different Air Force packages and all those different downforces. Maybe some could say maybe someone will say 2015 when Jeff Gordon retired. Maybe someone will say when Dale Jr. retired. But that is another video for another day, if I ever do that, because I really don't talk about NASCAR as much on this channel as I do other sports. But including what Trackhouse Racing is getting, they're getting the charters for Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain. And they're going to use one of those charters for Daniel Suarez. And they're going to use the other charter for the second driver, whoever they have as a second driver. There has been rumors floating around that Kurt Busch was going to be the second driver for 2311 Racing. Then there was some rumors that he'd be the second driver for Trackhouse Racing. And honestly, considering that they're Ganassi's charters, I could maybe see it being a possibility he could be the second driver for Trackhouse Racing, because to be honest, I mean, this may be a controversial opinion here, depending on what you're thinking, but I'd say that Kurt Busch has been the best driver that Chip Ganassi Racing has had in a long time, if not ever. I mean, I really am saying that. I mean, I do believe that. I mean, I know you could say Kyle Larson, but I would argue that if Kyle Larson was still with Ganassi Racing, he wouldn't be where he's at if he's still with Ganassi Racing. I really don't think he is. So that could be a possibility. I could also see, as I mentioned, the current charter for Daniel Suarez will be available. At least I'm guessing it's going to be. I'm not really 100% sure on that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But I think if that charter that Daniel Suarez has right now, if that becomes available, I mean, in fact, it probably does become available, honestly. I think that Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, because it's been confirmed, I think last week, that Keselowski is going to join Roush Fenway Racing as the next driver owner in the sport. I think that they buy that charter that Daniel Suarez has right now, and I think they make a 3-car team. You're going to have Keselowski, you're going to have Chris Buescher, and I think you're going to have Ross Chastain. I think it makes a lot of sense for Ross Chastain to go to Roush Fenway as their third car or their third driver. And I think Ryan Newman, I think he either retires, he goes to the 2 to take over Keselowski, or he takes over for the 21 for Matt DiBenedetto with the Wood brothers. I think it's one of those three possibilities. Although, I don't like seeing drivers retire, but I think it's going to be most likely. I think Ryan Newman does retire. And I think Ryan Newman maybe wanted to retire last year after the crash at the Daytona 500. I really think that maybe he thought about maybe making 2020 his final season. But Ryan Newman, he is a very underrated driver in my opinion. So even if they move Buescher, because Buescher's had a decent run this season. I mean, he hasn't been completely terrible. He's had some pretty decent finishes. But do they put Ryan Newman to 17? Do they take Chris Buescher out, make Chris Buescher a free agent? Like, what would Roush Fenway Racing do? I just think it makes sense that Roush Fenway Racing would buy that charter, make a 3-car team, and add Ross Chastain as their third driver. And Kurt Busch, I think, goes 2311 Racing, because when it was originally rumored that Kurt Busch was going to be a part of 2311 Racing, or at least he was the favorite to be their second driver, they said that Denny Hamlin said that they want to have an experienced veteran driver that has a championship pedigree. And I believe the only driver in my mind that fits that description is Kurt Busch. I mean, it may have been 2004 when he won his championship, but he's still a Cup champion. But those are my thoughts on that. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Share this with NASCAR fans, because I really want to talk about NASCAR more on my channel, but I really don't talk about that often. I think this is only the third or fourth time I'm talking about it. But I do want to try to talk about it a lot more. And have a good day, and I'll talk to you next time.